All right, folks, I'm at it again. So the next mod that I'm doing is the whole skid steer quick attach. Isn't very quick when you got to get in and out of your tractor. So I am going to electric assist this whole process. So if anybody's not familiar, what happens, you hook up your attachment, you push these down, and it pushes this, this pin down here, and that holds on your whole attachment. Now, this happens on both sides. Okay, so I got this one with the bolt out, but you can see it's the same thing. So both sides move down, and away you go. So I'll just put this here for safekeeping. So basically, if you take a look at what happens at this pivot point, it pushes in and out. So really, all I have to do is put between the two pins. Yeah, I know you can't see it. Okay, so between these two pins, this one on this side, the same one on the other side, and you push them apart, and it will lock things in place. You pull it back, it'll unlock it. So what I'm doing here, did a little bit of measuring, and it turns out an 8-inch stroke is what we need to move those in and out. That's all it takes. So what I have here is a 12-volt linear actuator. And I have it hooked in to a battery here. And this is a latching momentary switch. So what that does is you push it down and it stays in that position, sending a certain polarity of 12 volts through the wire. When you reverse it, it swaps that polarity and reverses the motor. Pretty simple concept. So here I'll demonstrate. All right. It's not a speed demon, but it'll get the job done. That'll take us all the way out to 8 inches of movement, which is pretty cool considering that's exactly what I need. So anyway, when it gets to the stop, it has an automatic end run switch. So as soon as it hit 8 inches, it stops. It's not going to hurt it to leave the switch on, which it should stop any moment. And there we go. So to put it back in, flick the switch the other way. So with this mounted up in the cab, and using this and a few other odds and ends, bits and pieces, MacGyver a few things, you'll be able to not get out of the cab, because I've always said that laziness is the mother of invention. And that's, you know, kind of my motto. So what we have to do is we have to find a way to connect the two ends to those pivot points. So what I'm going to do here is I have a couple of pieces of this 1/8 inch flat stock, 2 inch wide. And I'm going ahead and I wallered out the holes to fit the existing bolts in there, in those pivot points. Rounded the edges just to make sure it's not a safety hazard. And I am going to cut that in half. And then I've got my two end pieces that will interface with those pivot points. Now I still have to work out. I'm gonna need to have some spacers to make sure that when we tighten, it's not tightening this right up. So we'll have to figure that out yet, but working on it. Okay, so my next thing is I'm gonna cut this into the two pieces. Then each of these pieces will connect on to my pivot points right here. Okay, then I'll have you know, whatever spacing I need here on each end connected to those to connect right up to that linear actuator that'll live in the middle. And then we get to play with routing wiring all the way up into the cap. So yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. It's a mess, but should do good. So for those wondering what I'm using for this, we've got 12 volt DC, 8-inch stroke, 270 pound max load. And this does have a IP, I don't know what rating. You can look it up. I'm in Canada, picked this up at Princess Auto for right around $100, maybe a little bit less. Switch I grabbed off Amazon. It was fairly cheap. I'll put some links in the description for those that are interested. Pick up flat stock anywhere. You can see this is not new. This was out in the junk pile. And I think I'm gonna try to just use this really light walled pipe here. Like, I mean, it's really, really light, but we don't need a lot. You could use 3/4 inch EMT conduit pipe. It'd work just as good. Again, this was laying around, so I'm gonna use it until it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, I'll just do it again. Something better. So anyway, the whole point of this is the only thing I'm spending money on is that and that. And I've got wire all over the place here that's taking up space. So really I'm into it, maybe $110, which is pretty good considering, you know, everything on this kind of stuff is $500 or more. Something like that. Well, I don't even know if you can get it, but it'd be a lot of money. Normally, these kind of things, like on skid steers and stuff, if they are, you know, remote, they're hydraulic, generally. But I don't want to do that on this. It's too expensive. All right. So again, I drilled these holes out a little bigger, cut her in half, and rounded corners. Don't want to hurt yourself, of course. And remember, be safe. Grinding sparks can hurt and light you on fire. So I'm told. All right, so this is what it ends up being with that thin walled tube. And this is just gonna go right in there with a bolt, and there'll be 2 on that side. And then we'll do the same thing on that side, and we'll see how she goes. So I ground this guy down so that as you're coming to level, you can see it coming instead of being blind. So you just put an angled grind on that piece here. I think that'll work. I'll just paint that up along with my other pieces that I ended up making. And once everything dries up, we'll start putting it together, test it, and then we'll do the wiring. Okay, well, there's the mechanicals of it. So in here, I've got spacer washers so that this will pivot on both sides. And let's just go ahead and click the switch. Now, she's not a speed demon. And she'll path of least resistance, do the one side first. And the other side will go. And there we go. I think that'll work. Let's try her the other way. Watch down in the corners, and you'll see those start to move up. Yeah, it's doing that side. There we go. Now it's not quite going all the way. Might be able to tighten that up a little. Maybe I'll give that a try and see how it does. Well, while I'm trying to figure out how to wire up that quick attach piece, Super Colleen is making a brush guard for the bumper. Nothing fancy, just something that'll slide over and slide off when we need it. So she's going to town on that. However, trying to figure out how to wire in my switch, well, let's just say that escalated quickly. So I did do a little bit of research because I don't have the beacon kit to see if I could use the wiring that's pre-provisioned for the beacon. The answer is no, because it goes and switches a relay, and for our switch I need to be able to reverse that polarity, so that doesn't necessarily work through a relay very well. And also the wires that are up there are very light gauge because it's really just switching the relay, so there's no current in it. Not that it needs a lot of current, but that wire's a little too small. It's very small. So what am I going to do in here? I don't have cruise control, so I could, take a look at reusing there, but again, that's pretty light gauge wires in there, so not going to bother. And you never know, I might get the cruise kit someday. So had to take off the dash. It's not hard. There's bolts down here, and there's bolts here in the column, and to take this piece off there's 2 screws here. So it's pretty simple to get it off. It's just kind of a bit of a pain, but not bad. And these connectors come off real easy. They just push in the middle, slide them out, no problem. So why am I in here, you ask? Well, I'm using a switch hole over here on the dash, and I'm gonna have to run a power wire in through here, as well as my wires that go out the loader. So I'll use this factory grommet. I should be able to poke through and get out there. And I don't know, I might just come down to the starter and grab power from there and route it along and up and in through the firewall there. Of course, with an inline fuse. That linear actuator doesn't take a lot of current, so I'm not worried about running it through the switch. Suppose I could even measure it to be sure and make sure I know how much. But anyway, I'll bring you back and show you what the end result is. So if you want to know how I wired this switch, okay, these 2 are power and ground, and these 2 go out to the linear actuator. And if you want to look to see how they're all crossed over and which pins they go into, maybe I'll do a quick diagram, but Works pretty good. That's why you always test it on the bench. Make sure you got it right and you got it working the way you want it. But this one worked out fine and dandy. There's switch comes with a little one here. So you want to use the reversing winch switch use, because that swaps the polarity depending on which side you go. Wiring colors isn't necessarily, what I would say is accurate, but it comes with enough for you to make the appropriate jumps. Anyway, I've also got weather pack connectors because I want one at the linear actuator, and you want one where it comes off the loader. So if you ever want to disconnect your loader, your wiring isn't permanently attached to the tractor. So I'll be doing 2 sets of these weather pack connectors. All right, well, I'm pulling my wire again. So here I pull the ground all the way through there and down and around to the starter. So that's where I'm pulling my power from. Then I'm running the 2 wires that will go to the actuator, linear actuator. And so it's kind of a tight space here, but I'm bringing it down. I'll bring it all the way down and bring it up these hydraulic hoses. Make sure you have clearance for the lid. And I'll run the wires all the way along the hydraulic hose, all the way to the actuator. It's up right now because Super Colleen's working on this. But yeah, and don't forget, if you ever want to take your loader off, put a connector on your wires here, or you'll never get it off without cutting your wires. Don't forget that button. All right, she's all back together. Hit switch to one way. She starts moving it. Once it's all the way, hook up your attachment, hit the other way. Whichever. Yep. Cool. Of course, I gotta try it out, and it's not the most precision of units, but we'll see how it goes. Now to test. Cool. Hit the other way. Job's done. Cool. She's not a speed demon, but I don't have to get out. don't forget, she sits there and she stops because it's got its own stop switch, end switch. There, now we're off. Cool. Well, another successful modification. And it really didn't cost very much. Don't look at the welding, it's terrible. Doesn't matter, still sending it. Anyway, feel free to give a like if you watch the video. If you're still here, feel free. Go ahead, click subscribe if you want to follow more things that I'm doing and what I'm going to end up doing with the tractor on our 153 acres of land. Click subscribe, doesn't cost you a thing, and you can follow along. All right, folks, until the next video, talk to you later.